When you talk, we listen. WBOK.
WBOK New Orleans. Home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Texas's redistricting fight is heating up. Critics say GOP gains with Latino voters are temporary and shouldn't drive major map changes. But conservative activist Maria Espinoza says Republicans have surged at the border.
If you look in Texas, all along the border, there's a couple towns that did elect their first Republican mayor.
A Voting Rights Act lawsuit heads to court next month. President Trump is asking the Supreme Court for an emergency order to let him immediately remove Black Fed Governor Lisa Cook. This comes after an appeals court rejected moving forward with the termination. Cook says she will not be stepping down. And Raja Jackson, son of UFC legend Rampage Jackson, has been arrested for felony assault after attacking wrestler Psycho Stu at a Los Angeles show. Rampage says his son needs anger management and community service. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Join New Schools for New Orleans, All-State Sugar Bowl, and Entergy New Orleans in recognizing and celebrating the Teachers of the Year at our 4th annual New Orleans Excellence in Teaching Awards Gala. The gala will take place Saturday, November 1st at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. This year's gala will feature New Orleans legend DJ Jubilee. Don't miss out on this intimate celebration supporting our New Orleans public school teachers. Tickets can be purchased on our website, newschoolsforneworleans.org.
Good morning, wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Chief?
I'm here to hear you.
All right. Well, you're hearing our voices, but you know what? We want to hear your voices. So the WBOK 1230 AM talk line is 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. Okay, you weren't over at your table or your kitchen. You need to grab your pencil or your ink pen. That's all right. I got it for you again. 504-582-9422. All right? WBOK talk line. 504-582-9422. Well, it's only a few minutes after 7, so if you had some place you needed to be at 7, you late, and you might want to call somebody, let them know you're on your way. Hope you're on your way. But if you got to be there about 7:15, 7:30, you're probably in good shape depending on what part of the city you're going to. Right. But, always account for those accidents. And what about that speed limit?
No speeding in the school zone.
No speeding in the school
zone. And that's the chief talking. That's all not right. Radio personality talking. That's the chief talking.
Oh, man.
Chief love the kids.
I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but I was driving on the interstate, and I was tootling along. I was, doing my thing, and I was in the middle lane, and there's a car zipping by me on the left and on the right, and coming right up on me and behind me, and then zipping by on the left and the right. And I don't mean like one or two. I mean it's like a whole bunch of them.
Zooming.
Zoom. And I was like, where is everybody going? I was talking to my wife. Where's everybody going? It's like, well, I guess they got places to go. I said, but what am I doing? And I looked at the speed limit sign. It says 60 miles per hour.
Right.
I was speeding. I was 63.
Right.
And all these people was like, zoom. So, but I'm still living. I hope they are.
Yeah, got to be careful. Got to be careful.
Yep. Well, it was quite a weekend, and we got some good things coming up for you in the show. But, one of the things that we're going to be talking about is voter registration. Been talking about it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I got some numbers for you and a bit of context. But hold on. I'll get that for you. And you're going to have to stay tuned to get that information. And you're going to want to hear it because we got an important election coming up October 11th. And early voting starts this week on September 27th. September 27th, early voting starts, and it will end on October 4th. So if you missed the registration deadline for September 10th to register in person, too late for that. If you wanted to get registered so you could vote in this campaign, in this election, it's too late for that. Saturday at 11:59 p.m. was the deadline for online-only voter registration. Online-only voter registration. So if somebody's woke up in your household, or maybe it's the person that's standing in your slippers, right? And you want to go register to vote? Not for the October 11th election. But I have good news for you. I have some good news for you because they will register you to vote in person or online for the November election, but not for the October election. So you can register to vote, and we want you to register to vote, but you're not going to be able to vote in this upcoming election on October 11th, with the early voting starting September 27th and continuing through October 4th. So I hope a bunch of folks we know registered and will vote in this upcoming election.
You know, when we look at voting, like we always say, you know, WOK, you know, we at WOK look at this as a moral obligation as well as our civic obligation to inform the public about voting. And when you have someone like Will, who is an aficionado at all different ways to vote, and he's so adroit at basically, you know, finding ways to inform you about it, so you have no excuse not to vote. When we look at the sacrifices that our forefathers have made for us to have that right to vote, I mean, it is a moral obligation, civic duty, but it is a responsibility of epic proportions. The only way we can make real change is through representing ourselves in that voting booth. And, you know, we take that for granted, this generation, you know, takes that for granted, just being able to go in there and vote. But like I said, people sacrifice their lives to vote. You know, when you look at the people who came before us that made those sacrifices, that basically ultimately cost them their life. You know, we can't take that as something that's not consequential. We have to understand that these people died for us to have the right to vote. And when we stand on the sidelines and we, you know, complain and say, oh, it shouldn't have been that way, or my vote doesn't count, it's too late. Too late, because everybody votes count. And then we always talk about several elections that were decided by just a couple of votes. So your vote definitely counts, you know, and, you know, sometimes we repeat ourselves, but we have new listeners all the time. So we want everybody informed. And we have a lot of young listeners now. A lot of younger people are listening to the show in the morning on the way to school. Because I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of family members, a lot of church members that they're listening to us. And they're basically, their kids are captive audiences on the way to school, you know, so they're listening. So we want to build a generation of conscious voters and responsible voters, because that's how real change is made, through the vote.
Absolutely, positively, and you want to make sure that you are registered to vote. If you are not registered to vote already, then you're not going to be able to vote in the October 11th election. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't get registered to vote, because there are a number of things that will be coming up in the next few months. Not the least of which is the November 15th election, and there will be some things on the ballot that are not candidates, that you're going to want to vote for. But I'm going to make a prediction about the October 11th election. Here is my prediction. No matter what happens on October 11th, we will know that night or the next day that there will be a runoff in November. Yes, sir. There will be a runoff in November. Why? Because we got so many candidates running for different offices. And I don't think there's a way that any one candidate is going to win the October 11th election in every single race. Hear me. I didn't say there's going to be a runoff in every election. I'm saying that there will be one or more runoffs from the October 11th election, and therefore there'll be good reason to vote in November. So go ahead and get registered. We've got a caller. Good morning, Pop Jones. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing wonderful.
How you doing, sir?
I've been on the road for about 3 weeks. I got back Friday morning. I could miss you, and I was able to call the front porch.
All right.
All right.
Chief,
Well, we appreciate you.
We appreciate you giving us a little attention, a little time.
Okay, we missed you.
the chief still with you?
Oh, yes,
He's
she's
right
still
here.
here. I think they gave me a
okay.
contract, Papa Jones, because of you. I think I got a contract. I'm supposed to be a guest for
you
1
did?
week.
Oh, wait a while.
I've
Wait
been
a
here a
while.
month now.
Oh, no. Oh, well, I do something sometimes, huh?
Well, I tell you gave me such a good recommendation. I think the powers that be heard you.
Yes, indeed. But look,
What's on your mind,
I
Pop?
wanted to ask y'all, I got a shock this morning when I heard that the congressman endorsed Elena Moreno.
You're talking about Troy Carter.
Yeah, right.
That is correct. That endorsement was made some days ago.
I didn't
along
know.
with the endorsements of others for mayoral candidate Helena Moreno.
But I thought for sure he was for the other. I'm surprised.
Why are you
Shocked,
surprised?
if you want to tell the truth.
What did you expect him to do?
Well, you want me to say who I thought he would go for?
It's your opinion, Pop. If you want to say it,
Oh,
you can say it.
okay. Thank you very much. I thought he was a shoo-in with Oliver. I thought he was really up for Oliver.
Oh, okay. And what made you think that before you heard the news?
Well, just hearing him talk and about how he respecting. Not I mean you just don't vote for somebody because you like them. I understand that. But based on Oliver being a community person and everything, I thought he just was. Him and Oliver have worked together, I think, and so I just felt that he was in his corner, and it was more or less a shoo-in that he would vote for Oliver. That's my opinion.
Well, I have not talked with him about that particular thing, but my guess is that he would say I've worked with each of them, and that he has known each of them. But when it came time to make a decision, first of all, whether to endorse, because a politician, a candidate, a former politician has the right to say, I'm not going to endorse. But sometimes you feel like you want to make sure that people know where you stand so that people will have some reason. And he did state those reasons at a news conference. Chief?
Yeah, Papa, you missed the show Thursday.
You said why?
Yeah, Papa, you missed the show Thursday. He articulated on the show.
Yeah, no, I was not here. I didn't get it back.
See, when you miss it, you got to catch up. So I'm about to catch you up. Congressman Carter was on the show Thursday, and he articulated the fact that he had great respect for Oliver as well as Royce Duplessis.
Oh, okay.
And he said that it was a very tough decision,
Right. Yeah.
but he said, he articulated the reasons why he endorsed Councilman Helena Moreno. He was very, very articulate in his explanation. And, and I commend him on being man enough to say it, because a lot of people would say it and endorse it, not come on our radio station and articulate himself. So, if you want to go back and look at the replay, the recording, you'll be able, because his words were very sincere, and I think he did what he thought in his mind was the best thing for his constituency. But like I said, he still said he had a lot of respect for Councilman Thomas and a lot of respect for Senator Duplessis. So it was a situation where he got along with all three of them.
Can I give my opinion? I'm gonna get off. Let somebody else come on. Look, anybody listens that would be okay. Know what I'm not a hate. I'm a child of God. I'm a person, Christian. So I don't hate anyone. But I was giving my opinion. I had seen nothing Helena Moreno did for her people when she's a Latin. I have not seen her do anything for black people. And she just come in and start criticizing the mayor and what the mayor didn't do. So I can't understand how she was even supposed to be number one in the running. I had a problem with that, but that's just me. But I don't know what reason, all of a sudden she becomes the number one leader. I mean, I thought you get this position because you've done something for the people. Not just one section of the people, but the whole. You're running for mayor of the city. It looked like to me it would be black people, Latin people, yellow people, white people, everybody. And I believe that Oliver is that kind of person. But I do not see that in her.
Well, I hear you, Pop, and I have gone to a number of the candidate debates and forums, mayoral and otherwise, and I have seen and heard, I think, practically every candidate, not just the big three most prominent candidates, speak to the issues that you're talking about with some reference to the black community and the broader community, and issues of concern to us. And personally, I mean, I have friends that I know are going to vote for Helena Moreno, that I know are going to vote for Royce Duplessis, and that I know are going to vote for Oliver Thomas. And I mean, these are people I know. But beyond that, I know people who are not going to vote for any of them, and they're going to vote for another candidate.
Right.
Well, I mean, which is fascinating. Kind of speaks to your point about what you've seen, but clearly those folks see something different from their own perspective.
Oh wow! I wish they let me know what they see.
Say that again.
I wish they let me know what they see. They see something different, you say?
Well, perhaps.
I mean,
somebody might call in today.
I'm just a human being to look at
perspectives.
What you have done and what you haven't done. That's what I voice my opinion on.
I hear you, Pop. I hear you. But we're glad you're back off the road.
So look,
that you are healthy.
Right.
And
if you get in, I'm gonna pray for her to do the right thing towards the people, because I tell you, I don't feel all that optimistic. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I just give my opinion, fellas. Don't pay me too much mind.
No, I pay you plenty of mind, because we're here to hear you, and we want to hear you. Everybody's opinion is important.
Yep.
So I'm glad you was picked to be Will's sidekick.
Yeah, I'm very honored to be Will's sidekick. 'Cause Will is very sagacious
well,
and
you
perspicacious,
inside.
and I'm learning a
I
lot
don't
from
know
him.
who's sidekick. Yeah.
All right.
So, all right. Thank
All right.
you all for taking my
Well,
call. Have a blessed day.
All right. Thanks so much, Pop. You have a blessed day as well.
All right.
All right. So that's Pop Jones' opinion. Maybe you have an opinion as well. Just want to remind you that, again, that there are still things that you can do and should do to get ready to vote in the October 11th election. And if you're not registered to vote, then you can't vote in the October 11th election. But you can vote in the November election, and you can register to vote in person or online. But for those of you who are registered, we talked about this a bit last week, but I want to bring it up again because too many people think that mail ballots are for the old people.
Right.
Well, both of us might be considered old by some, but I consider myself a young senior.
Right. I'm 67, still going strong.
And I'm 70. I'm doing all right, but the Chief's going to get me better.
Yeah.
So senior citizens are eligible for mail ballots at 65 years of age or older. So you're 65 or older, and that's what everybody is aware of. But there are other categories, including if you have a physical disability, or if you're hospitalized or bedridden, or if you're going to be out of the state for out of your parish, out of your voting residential district, then you can have a mail-in ballot. If you're in an extended care facility, you can get a mail ballot. And so there are other things to be aware of, and I hope that if this doesn't apply to you, that it applies to somebody that you know, and that you will help them take advantage of this opportunity, because the deadline for requesting a mail ballot isn't until October 7th. But that'll be here in no time, just like the registration deadline snuck up on some people. And you have to, it has to be received by the register of voters on Friday, October 10th. So keep those dates in mind. I'm going to start talking about those because I want to make sure that you have multiple options as a way to participate in this election. So if you are eligible for a mail ballot, you can request it as late as 4:30 on October 7th, and you have to get it back by 4:30 on Friday, October 10th, the mail ballot. So we're going to go to break, Chief, and when we come back, we're going to talk some more about Charlie Kirk. So we're going to talk about Charlie Kirk. That story has string, and yesterday there was a big celebration of his life. You're listening to WBOK 1230 AM. What New Orleans is talking about
all day long.
Good morning and happy Monday. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News, and here's a look at today's headlines. Happening today, former New Orleans 911 Director Tyrell Morris is expected to stand trial. Morris faces multiple charges, including false impersonation of a peace officer, malfeasance in office, insurance fraud, and injuring public records. The trial was delayed last month after prosecutors made a last-minute move to introduce new evidence. Morris has pleaded not guilty and is expected to be in court at 9 a.m. Neighbors in the lower Ninth Ward plan to protest a controversial grain terminal later today. Residents who live near the facility worry it will threaten their quality of life. We're told they plan to confront representatives from Port Nola and Sunrise Food during a community meeting and then stage a peaceful protest outside. That meeting takes place from 5 to 7 tonight at the Sanchez Multi-Service Center. And with the October 11th election rapidly approaching, we're hosting the WDSU mayoral debate tonight to help you get informed before casting your ballot. That 30-minute live debate airs tonight, commercial-free at 6:30 p.m., and the top three candidates for mayor, Royce Duplessis, Helena Moreno, and Oliver Thomas, are all participating. We will have a full recap during our news at 10 o'clock. And that is a look at today's headlines. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News. Have a great day.
This is the Bloomberg Black Business Beat. The WNBA's Players Association opted out of its collective bargaining agreement almost a year ago. And still, not much progress has been made in getting a new deal done. Terry Carmichael Jackson is executive director of the WNBPA. She was on stage at this year's Bloomberg Power Players event in New York and talked about how now is the time for the WNBA to make things right and strike a deal with the players.
Right now, we're in a system that, if you look at it, it's not tied to the business. And so it's designed to undervalue them. As the business grows, they start to fall behind. And we've got to right that ship.
A system that reflects the rapidly growing TV ratings, attendance, and merchandise sales numbers would help get women basketball players salaries that are more competitive with their NBA counterparts. The WNBA has historically featured a large portion of women of color. I'm Bloomberg's Justin Milliner on the Black Business Beat.
With Fidelity Wealth Management, a dedicated advisor gets to know you and your goals to build a comprehensive plan to help grow and protect your wealth. Backed by a team of specialists, they'll analyze all your accounts, even the ones they don't manage, to keep an eye on taxes and provide proactive portfolio insights that can help you unlock your wealth's full potential. Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. Member NYSE SIPC.
It's Pro Savings Days at Lowe's. Get up to 35% off select major appliances and save an additional $1,000 when you buy 4 select LG major appliances. Plus, get a free DeWalt 20-volt max 5 amp-hour battery when you buy a select DeWalt 20-volt max tool. Get the job done for less at Lowe's. We help. You save. Valid through 9/26. Selection varies by location while supplies last. See associate or Lowe's.com for more details and qualifying items.
Trying to grow your business or increase traffic to your location? We can help. WBOK 1230 AM has a number of solutions that will meet your individual needs. Give one of our consultants a call today at 504-582-9420 or email us at info@wbok1230.com. And remember, an investment with WBOK is an investment in our community. Call today.
A message from the community scientist. Do you live or work in St. James, St. John, St. Charles, Ascension, Calcasieu, Baton Rouge, or St. Bernard Parish? You may be exposed to harmful chemicals like phthalates, BPA, and flame retardants found in everyday products but linked to serious health risks. That's why the Community Scientist, a program of Rise St. James, brings you clear, science-based facts that protect your health and our environment. Stay informed, stay empowered. Visit risestjames.org today.
Hear that? For too long, fixing our streets and drainage has only meant inconvenience and empty promises. This is Matthew Willard. I'm running for Council at Large, Division 1, to really fix our city, so we spend less time dodging potholes and street flooding and more time cheering on the Saints. As a state legislator, I've proven I can deliver. At City Hall, I'll build on that record. Paid for by the Matthew Willard Campaign.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK. WBOK 1230 AM. The talk line is 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. I'm here with a young man who's been around the world and done so much for the city of New Orleans and for law enforcement, and he's got all kinds of hats these days. And your name, sir?
Chief Eddie Compass.
Why are you here?
I'm here to hear you.
All right, we're here to hear you, folks. So that means that you're hearing our voices, but there's a talk line. You can talk. Pop Jones gave us a ring. He talked. 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. The Charlie Kirk story just keeps going on, Chief. Just keeps going on, one thing after another. almost daily developments with the murder of Charlie Kirk. And yesterday there was a huge celebration of his life, memorial service, MAGA crowd cheering, opportunity for multiple Trump administration officials and others to opine about the state of the nation and the world. And there was like 200,000 in one location and then thousands in other locations where they had to watch on screens. Right. There were so many people who came out, and this was not just a matter of locals showing up. People flew in and drove in, took buses, I guess, and got out there because they wanted to be a part of something special in their eyes. And but it's caused a great deal of conversation and debate. And we're going to talk about it a bit because there was the service yesterday, but there was also some important votes last week that we need to be aware of. Right now, we got a caller on the line. Who we got? Reverend Calhoun. Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, Reverend Calhoun.
Good morning. Good morning, gentlemen. I do have a lot of concerns here because the only thing I seen this man had actually done was become friends with Donald Trump. Now, his activism seems to have drawn a lot of people, but does that qualify him now to, because like I said, I went to Vietnam and there was some soldiers that didn't get the flag at half staff. So I don't know what his contribution to the country is. Maybe y'all can help me with that. I also want you, Will, to just speak briefly, if you will, on are we losing the First Amendment rights? It seems that now the way Trump has done this thing is that he is silencing any oppositional voices to him. Personal, political, doesn't matter. He's at a point where he's now saying that he will control government from all aspects. So looking at where we are in our freedoms, to me, are really being taken away. So I'll sit back and listen at what you guys got.
Well, I think that, there are multiple layers to this, what's happening with Charlie Kirk. And one of them is that he's identified himself and went about his life saying that he was a Christian, a follower of Jesus Christ, a faithful husband, a man of God, and urging people to be saved and to live their lives in accordance with God's word. And there are other faiths, other religions, other practices, and people who profess no faith. But I think some of everybody can respect that part of anybody who is that dedicated and consistently works to bring people to the Lord. The problem is whether it's Charlie Kirk or somebody else, that you say that and in the same talk, in the same debate, in the same conversation, in the same speech, you say such nasty things about individuals and about people groups like black folks, like gay, lesbian, transgender people, like Jewish people. I don't know how you reconcile that, and that's something, Reverend Calhoun, that I hope that you and other men of faith, women of faith will help me with in the coming weeks, because that just seems so disingenuous for the things that you say when you are pursuing a life of God, a follower of Jesus Christ, and then you say things like calling the former First Lady Michelle Obama a gorilla. I mean, I don't understand that, and that's one of his more mild statements, and it's not like he made a mistake, because he repeated it over and over again, and he's done that. He did that in his life, and that's why so many people, I feel, are hurt by what's happening now. I mean, there's a college in Florida. Don't know if you all heard about this. It's a college in Florida that says they're going to erect a statue in honor of Charlie Kirk on their campus. I mean, we have flags being flown at half staff. Government buildings, half staff.
I think they're basically looking at his Christianity and trying to make that the image that they want to project to the American people. But in actuality, that's a specious argument. You know, it's superficially plausible, but it's actually deceptive and spurious. When you look at what he has done from a totality of circumstances, you know, that's, you know, there's not evidentiary, you know, I guess, examples on a large scale that he has been fair and judicious with people of all nationalities, sexual orientations. And when you look at it from that perspective, it's not something that will bring the country together. It's deceptive. Now, the second part of Reverend Calhoun's question, saying that there's some of our, I guess, rights under the Constitution may be under attack right now. Well, one thing that, you know, I guess I've studied history, you know, as a professor at Dillard and Loyola and Southern. You know, the framers of the U.S. Constitution, they adopted the Bill of Rights as a means of precluding the adoption of any law that would infringe upon or abrogate the basic rights of the citizens in a democracy. So no matter who's in a position of presidency, there's certain safeguards in place, and there's actual, you know, balance of power from the executive branch, from the judiciary branch, and from the legislative branch. So even though a lot of things are under attack right now, that's why we have those actual safeguards in place, and there's a process. And so it's a lot easier said than done to do some of the things Reverend Calhoun just said is gonna happen, because that's why we have people like Congressman Troy Carter representing us that have the rights and basically the best interests of his constituency in place. And there are people like him in the Democratic Party and some in the Republican Party all over the country that don't espouse certain philosophies and ideologies. So, you know, I feel very fortunate and blessed to be in the United States. I feel blessed that I'm part of a democracy. This is not an oligarchy. It's not a dictatorship. It's a democracy. And when we think about, you know, the United States, we've weathered many storms, and we've come together as a people. And this, you know, Charlie Kirk situation, it kind of, you know, is very divisive, for lack of a better term, because, like Will alluded to, his ideologies and the way that he's treated people of color, people of different sexual orientations, women, is not consistent with what it is to be a Christian. And when you say that you're a Christian, the church that I go to, Christianity is loving all your fellow men, respecting everyone. And when you look at it from that perspective, you know, I think it's going to always be a situation of opinions on both sides. And when you look at it from the perspective of totality of the circumstance that's transpired, everyone, no matter what their ideology, no matter what their race, no matter what their sex, no matter what their sexual orientation, we can agree that somebody getting murdered is wrong. That is one of the fundamental principles of being a Christian and being a moral person. I always allude to basically Kant's categorical imperative. Basically, that's a core principle of his moral philosophy that's universal. So when you look at it from that perspective, killing someone is wrong no matter what, no matter who's killed. So when you look at it from that perspective, I can sympathize and I can empathize with the family and with people that mourn this man's death. But basically making him a hero and making him someone that is, looked at as like a champion of all people, I think that's a little disingenuous.
All right, we got a caller on the line. We've got to hear from Thad. How are you, Thad? Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me well?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay, because I'm driving. I would like to contribute that what we're witnessing is the 21st century's version of The Birth of a Nation. And you remember the Hollywood movie Birth of a Nation?
Oh, very much.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
To glorify slavery and to demonize the progress that was made during Reconstruction. Now, if you read Ta-Nehisi Coates' piece in the Vanguard, that's the title of his piece, the present-day myth of the lost cause. So I recommend you all Google Ta-Nehisi Coates, the Vanguard, in this article. So you notice there's a retreat of the white liberals that Malcolm X talked about. They're silent. And so we're seeing this in this case. And so what is being tested is how can you effectively crack down on dissent. It's just not happening now. We saw it with people who were protesting on behalf of the Palestinians when Biden was president. There was also a crackdown on free speech as it relates to calling out a genocide. And so this is what we see happening. We see that Charlie Kirk's death, and there are many discussions surrounding his death, but we're seeing this being used as a way to galvanize people on the ground behind an agenda that pushes back against the rights of people. And what's important than anything else, where are the liberals? Where are the liberal Democrats' loud voices? We don't hear them. So many of the black elected officials are not as forceful on this because they get their support from this corporate liberal Democrat element. And so they're testing the waters to crack down on dissent because as the U.S. power wanes in the world, the U.S. is losing control of the world, they're retreating. And so very tough decisions are going to be made, whether to take your Social Security, continue to go to war, and roll back many of the programs that were put in place under FDR. So they're testing the waters, and both sides are doing this together. And that's what I want to contribute.
Okay. Well, you make some good points, Thad, and that Coates piece is phenomenal. So I'm glad you brought that to the attention of our listeners as well. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
All right, up next, we got Aaron on the line. Aaron, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How y'all doing?
We're good, Aaron. How you doing, my brother?
All right. First, shouts out to the Fatherhood Roundtable as well as the Huey P. Newton Gun Club. Y'all should have rung that bell for that brother who just got off of there, especially when he gave reference to those books. You dig? Chief, I heard you, trying, and I understand you on this radio show, so you got to be nice when you say certain things, but we got to get down to the nitty-gritty on why them white folks is doing what they doing as it relates to Charlie Kirk. And what's crazy is that, you got some of us in our communities, right, who are acting like we are so surprised by what's going on. Look, this stuff been going on. Even when you look at it on the local level. First of all, Charlie Kirk was a Christian white nationalist, and if some of us who don't know what that is, we need to get the great Carol Gambling to come on this radio show and discuss exactly what they do and what is their purpose, right? That's number one. The second thing is, is we keep on acting like the devil is going to wake up and just all of a sudden just start to treat us right. Let's not forget, and Brother Will, you was out there in 1985 when this same government, who some of us believe in, dropped the bomb on the MOVE organization in Philly. So, I mean, man, listen, the game don't change, only the characters. These people have showed us time and time again, they going to make us think that they have our best interest, and as soon as they get elected to whatever capacity, they're going to pull a rug from underneath us. And it's things that we must do as a collective, as a people, as a community, to make sure that not just us, but our kids get their just due. It's some of us who constantly, call this radio station with so many problems because they're too afraid to come up with the solutions that we need to push our communities in the right direction. And that's why we can't get nowhere. It doesn't matter who sits in any of those seats. The game, as it relates to us, would always be the same. Some of y'all are older than me, and step outside and look at your community. Like I always say, we just had the Super Bowl here in our city, right? All that money, all that black money that was here, and step outside and look at your communities, and you tell me that the trickle-down effect actually works. I'm going to hang up and listen. But again, we got to stop looking for other people to come into our community to do for us what we have the power and the ability to do for ourselves, period. That's our only way out of our current situation. Everything else is obsolete. It's not working. All right, y'all. Y'all take it easy.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate your call. Chief?
Yeah, well, Aaron, first of all, when you say I'm being nice, that's not true. I'm not trying to mitigate, but I'm trying to explicate what is transpiring, because that is my job as the host of this radio show. I can't get down like I would if I was on a street corner. I could use different vernacular, but I have to use the jargon and the parlance of an individual who has a responsibility to inform the public. Second of all, when you look at it from the perspective in which I made it, I did not give Charlie Kirk any type of flowers. As a matter of fact, I was talking about that he should not be given flowers because of his ideology. And when I talk about him as an individual, I'm not talking about him as a person that should be loved and respected by the entire community. I'm saying that his death is something that anybody from any level can understand. Getting assassinated is not a good thing because we are Christians. And as a Christian, murder is looked at something as irreprehensible. And I'm not going to have a party and applaud him being killed. But I am not going to say and celebrate his life, because the life that he lived was not one of inclusion, was not one of bringing people together. It was one of exclusion and one of tearing people apart. So basically, you got to understand that I have a different responsibility sitting in this chair. When I'm the chief on the street. I deal with drug dealers accordingly. I do not infringe on their constitutional rights, but I deal with them in a way that may be harsher than I would deal with somebody for a speeding ticket. When I'm in a classroom, I'm using the jargon and the parlance of somebody that's an rhetorician. But when I'm on this radio station, I have to speak in the terms of common man, and I have to speak from a perspective that I look at as fair, even if the individual is someone that is heinous, has done heinous acts and things. I still have to look at it from a totality of circumstances. And him getting killed and assassinated was not a good thing. And, I'm not going to say it was. But we're not going to celebrate him either for basically the way that he lived his life. So basically, I'm trying to balance things off.
All right, we're going to go to break. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about
all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Another hot start to the week, but we are looking at the possibility of some scattered showers for today. We'll call them hit or miss, so not everybody will see them. Highs today will still be into the low 90s, feeling like the mid-90s. Another chance for some spotty showers as we get to Tuesday. Better chances for rain on Wednesday and Thursday, then lower humidity by the end of the week. From the WDSU First First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
New Orleans is stuck, spinning our wheels while JP Morrell gets us nowhere. I'm Pastor Gregory Manning, and I'm running for New Orleans City Council at large. I'll fight for our community. Affordable housing, lower bills, and no more Entergy late fees or cutoffs when people need power most. Because when our community moves forward, New Orleans moves forward. On October the 11th, it's time to move forward. Vote Pastor Gregory Manning for City Council at Large, Division 2, ballot number 32. Paid for by Friends of Gregory Manning.
What's the future for New Orleans? Will city services ever function efficiently? Our people need answers, not slogans. That's why the Nonpartisan City Services Coalition has asked the candidates for mayor how they plan to fix city government. Want to know what they said? Go to cityservicescoalition.com to see for yourself. It's time for action, not excuses. The next step is yours.
Paid for by the City Services Coalition.
My name is Calvin Duncan, and I served 28 years in prison for a crime I didn't commit. But instead of losing hope at Angola, I educated myself, became a jailhouse lawyer, and after decades of being denied access to my records by the clerk's office, proved my innocence. Today, that same office is treating our records like trash, and it's time for a clerk who knows how much is at stake.
Calvin Duncan for clerk.
Paid for by Calvin for clerk.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana companies through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about what the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation does, please visit www.jazzandheritage.org.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK. Show on WBOK 1230 AM. This is Will Sutton, and I'm right here with Chief Eddie Compass. And as Chief likes to say, we're here to hear you. Is that right?
Oh, that's right. And we hearing you this morning.
Oh, yeah. We got some good stuff going on. 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. Let me clarify what I just said. Some good stuff. It's actually very unfortunate and horrendous stuff, but we got some good comments from our listeners, and I know there are those of you with opinions and ideas, even questions, and you're just enjoying listening to the conversation, and that's okay. That's okay, but if you got something to say, we're going to be talking about this because this is hot, and it's not going away anytime soon, it seems. So we got another caller. Good morning, Tamika.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you guys doing this morning?
Fabulous. Even better now that you called.
How you doing,
Oh,
Mr.
I
Mika?
appreciate that. I'm doing good. How are you, Chief?
I'm very good, Mr. Mika.
Good. I just heard the two gentlemen that called, and first let me say it's always music to my ears when anyone can articulate and break down and give references on how to educate our people, and I'm listening, and I listen every day. I'm not sure if y'all familiar with my name, but I listen every day. Morning, evening, night. And I tell all my friends, family, my parents, everybody's starting to tune in. But Chief, I don't think the gentleman was trying to be disrespectful, and you probably pretty much know that. I think at this point, Black people, our people, I I think we're kind of exhausted already with the Charlie Kirk situation. I don't have to say it. You know, I'm a person that believes in love, peace, unity. You know, of course, I don't agree with Charlie Kirk being assassinated. But, you know, as you mentioned, we don't forget. We can't forget. He was loud and proud about his discrimination, disrespect to black women, you know, calling us uneducated, this whole DEI. Oh, my God. They done ran it into the ground once, I'm guessing somebody behind the scenes mentioned it when Harris was running. Now, that's the, you know, to me, it's like the code word for you know what else. I think that when I think about Charlie Kirk, and I mean no disrespect because he's one of my heroes, when I say this, I'm speaking on the topic of that Charlie Kirk should not be memorialized. I'm speaking on the fact that Malcolm X didn't get a holiday. And we all know he spoke about the white devil. He spoke about, you know, listen, you can join the cause. You can appreciate the cause of our fight, but you can't join in. You know, he was very, very clear. And just as Malcolm X did not and was not allowed a holiday, I do not feel Charlie Kirk should be allowed a holiday. I mean, free speech is free speech. I get that, you know, but when I'm referencing Malcolm X, I say that to say Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, they were both assassinated. But we do notice that Martin Luther King was the only one that received the national holiday. Malcolm X did not. And I believe, my personal opinion, he did not, because he did not stand for allowing our people to be attacked, and he believed in, you know, attacking and making sure that we stood up for ourselves. And I'm sure he appreciated Dr. King, but, you know, turning the other cheek, he just was not for it. So I say, and I don't know, maybe I speak for other people, I believe Charlie Kirk does not deserve the right to be memorialized or receive a landmark on any grounds, just as they decided they didn't want to memorialize and leave a landmark for Malcolm X. Everybody's entitled to their free speech, but I don't think everybody, such as Charlie Kirk, should have any type of landmark, holiday, or anything else. You know, that's one topic. I'm so exhausted with the Charlie Kirk. Rest in peace. You know, my prayers are with his daughter, because unfortunately, you know, his wife wants to continue the same trajectory that her husband did. And of course, I didn't give my time, my eyes, my peace to watching whatever segments that they were showing, clips of the memorial where all the white people gathered. You know, kudos to them. God bless them. But I'm exhausted already from it. I appreciate everyone who has an opinion on it, free speech, you know, but what kills me is free speech at this time only seems to be good enough for certain people, such as MAGAs, such as Charlie Kirk, such as some Republicans. But when it comes to other parties or other previous council members that was killed, politicians that were killed, you don't hear anything. If you kind of play back the tape of when Melissa Horton and her husband and their dog was killed, you had Republicans getting on TV making little snooty jokes, one way or another.
You're right.
Or you heard the president when Nancy Pelosi's husband got attacked with a hammer. You know, Fox News wanted to, do little snippets of something about a hammer. Maybe we should get a hammer. You got the president in the middle of the speech, having a speech, and wants to be sarcastic. I wonder how Nancy's husband is doing. So again, my question is, who does free speech apply to right now? Because it darn sure isn't for everybody. Because they want to shut down Jimmy Kimmel. They want to shut down my favorite talk show host, Stephen Colbert, which I thank God he's on until May, so he can still say what he needs to say. But it just baffles me. You got white people, sorry to say, I'm pretty sure there's some sprinkles of blacks and other races too, but you got white people talking about free speech, but then they're on the news saying, hey, take him off, he shouldn't say this. Free speech is free speech. Free speech is not just what you want to hear. Free speech is all opinions, whether right or wrong, period. So my thing is, I'm so exhausted from this Charlie Kirk, because my personal opinion is it's a distraction.
Right.
My personal opinion is there's some powers that be, just my personal opinion, that had a whole lot to do with this. And this young white man, I'm going to say it again, his family was full Republicans, which means he had some of that background in him too. Now they want to, have a talking point that he had a transgender girlfriend, and now that's all they running with. Stop the foolery. Stop the foolery. People are not ignorant. Yeah, there's some, but I'm not. I pay very close attention. And one more thing, gentlemen, I know I gotta go. I'm sure there's other callers calling in. Please, people, get out and vote. Please. If you guys don't do anything, get out and vote. It's time for our people to stand for something. We can have fun. We can second line. We can make it to any and everything, such as myself. I do too. But get out and vote. If you keep a blind on, and I hear the bell. You keep a blind on, and you're going to stay blind.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
You made a very salient
point. We talk about registration and voting every day.
Yes.
Because it's
important.
important.
Yes, I tell my generation. I tell my generation's children, and even my nieces who are 9 and 10. I tell my sister, listen, it's time to get back down to what our grandpa, papa, grandmothers used to do, and tell our parents, even if we're not old enough to vote, start educating your children. You educate them on everything else. Educate your children. And one more thing, and hey, you guys may get upset. One more. It's time for J.P. Morrell to get out that position. Get out.
Okay.
It's time for him to go.
All right.
Okay? It's time for him to go. Gentlemen, have a wonderful, blessed, peaceful day. I love y'all, and thanks for educating and doing what y'all doing. I hear y'all, and I see y'all, and I appreciate y'all.
Okay, well, stay tuned, Tamika, because we got some voter registration information coming up that I think will be of great interest to you. And we're going to have some more on this Charlie Kirk thing. I understand it's kind of exhausting, but we need to be aware of what's happening with this, because this is being used to our negative. Right. And we need to be aware. We can't just hide behind a rock and pretend this stuff isn't happening. But we'll talk about that. Right now, we're going to take a break. You're listening to WBOK 1230 a.m. What New Orleans is talking about
all day long.
WBOK New Orleans, home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump says the nation is mourning Charlie Kirk, calling him a champion of free speech.
As president, many people asked me for things, but Charlie was one of the few who always gave more than he took.
At Kirk's Arizona Memorial, Trump vowed to save Chicago, Kirk's hometown. Kirk was killed at a Utah rally earlier this month. Colin Kaepernick will pay for an independent autopsy of DeMartravion Trey Reed, a black college student found hanging from a tree at Delta State University in Mississippi. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump says Reed's family received conflicting information and deserves answers. And singer David has canceled his U.S. tour after the dismembered remains of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez were found in his Tesla. The teen had been missing for over a year. Police searched David's home and say he's cooperating, but no suspect has been named. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Join New Schools for New Orleans, All-State Sugar Bowl, and Integer New Orleans in recognizing and celebrating the Teachers of the Year at our 4th annual New Orleans Excellence in Teaching Awards Gala. The gala will take place Saturday, November 1st at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. This year's gala will feature New Orleans legend DJ Jubilee. Don't miss out on this intimate celebration supporting our New Orleans public school teachers. Tickets can be purchased on our website, newschoolsforneworleans.org.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Well, good morning, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show on WBOK 1230 a.m. This is your station. You're hearing our voices, but we love to hear your voices. The talk line number is 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. You're hearing us. We'd like to hear from you. We talk about a number of things. And right now we're jumping into a conversation with one of these special brothers that I think y'all going to be surprised to hear from. And it's quite an honor and a blessing to have this brother coming on. I'm going to let Chief Eddie take it from here.
Well, you know, I wore many hats. Like I said, one of my hats that I wore is I'm also a coach, and I've coached since 1977, and I've coached 12 kids that's gone to the NFL, including Maurice Hurst, who just got inducted into the Hall of Fame for the New England Patriots. So
and
give him a ding.
Going on to college.
Going on to college. Numerous going on to college.
Yeah.
But this is a gentleman I met when I was the chief of police. He is one of the most incredible NFL players in the history of the NFL because he was a game changer. He changed the trajectory for African Americans in the NFL. He was the first African American punter in the history of the NFL, Mr. Greg Coleman, and we are blessed and fortunate to have him on the line. And he is one of my closest friends, and I just wanted to have him come on the show and not just talk about football, but talk about his life and you know how unique it was for him to be a punter. So, Greg, take it from here, my brother.
Chief, it's always great to connect with you, to reconnect, because I do believe that no one was put here to do this journey alone, and you being a part of my journey back during a critical time for the people of New Orleans and just people across the country. But my journey is a little bit unique, not uncommon to some. You mentioned being the first African American punter in the NFL. Well, I did not start out and look to be the first African American punter in the league. I wanted to be a punter in the National Football League that happened to be black. And during that time of integration and desegregation and all of those things, that position was not looked on as one of those positions, very similar to the black quarterback.
Right.
Doug Williams and I were teammates my last year in the league with Washington, and we would talk about so many different things, so many different ideas, and what our journey was like. Some of the things that he had to go through, I went through similar, but on a very minute, very small basis, because I think the focus was on the black quarterback. Guys would come out doing great jobs as quarterback and was forced to change positions to defensive back or wide receiver. Yeah, I didn't want to go through that, so I was pretty determined and had the conviction about my talent and ability, even though a lot of PW, what do they call them? Predominantly white institutions.
Predominantly white
PWI,
institutions.
thank you, man.
Right.
It's a PW something. But, I was told a number of times, Greg, we're just getting our alumni base ready to accept the fact that we're going to have a black quarterback.
Right.
I don't know about a black kicker and a punter right now.
Right.
I said, well, you guys do what you need to do. Florida A&M came knocking to my door and said, Ms. Coleman, we don't have a whole lot of money to build a extension on the back of your house, or give Greg a car, and give his girlfriend a scholarship. Not to say that that's what those other schools were doing, but he just wanted to make that point that FAMU did not have those kind of resources. And if I came to FAMU, I could kick, I could punt, I could run track. And he said, "Oh, Ms. Coleman, if he goes to class, he'll graduate."
That was very important back then.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And then here was the kicker. He said, "Well, Ms. Coleman, the other thing, we're going to feed him 3 meals a day." My mom said, "Hell, have you seen how much this boy eat? Give me that damn pen." and that started my tenure at Florida A&M, and it was one of the greatest experiences, even in my life today, because you talk about in Chief, you talk about the coaching. Yeah, you coach, but you also nurtured. You also tutored. You also turned some of these young boys, when they came to you, you set the foundation for them to be men when they left you. And that was the same thing that happened to me at Florida A&M. I went in as a young boy, but I left as a man because of the nurturing, because of the coaching, because of the tutoring, because of the humanity. That was at Florida A&M that I left with. And it's just been a beautiful ride. Drafted, and I'll try and be brief with this. Drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals, did not make it because, again, the stereotypical. I ran a 4.40, and they said, "Well, you got too much speed to just be a punter and a kicker. You go over there with the wide receivers."
Right.
And then I would have to run patterns, and you know the drill. It didn't work out that year, but being determined, I got another shot the following year with Cleveland. Forrest Gregg, Native American head coach with the Cleveland Browns, gave an African American a shot to be the first African American punter in the National Football League. Went on to spend 10 years with Minnesota, and my final year with Washington. But it was a great journey. Learned so many things, and man, where do you want to go from here?
Well, Greg, let me tell you, the viewers, well, not the viewers, the listeners, how a circuitous, journey you and I have had. When we became friends, we were sitting in Roots Chris Steakhouse eating lunch. And Greg said, man, I heard about this little kid that you guys had at St. Augustine High School that's punting right now, man. He said, I'd really like to get in touch with that kid and help him out because he's got a lot of potential. I said, his dad is right over there. His name was Vinny Burns, and Ronnie Burns was in Roots Chris. Right, and I introduced Ronnie to Greg. And Greg took such an interest in Vinny. And, I mean, just the kind of person Greg is. I mean, it's just like with all the things he has to do, and I think you and Vinny hooked up, and you mentored him for almost 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, right?
We had some conversations just trying to point him in the right direction, some things to look at, to look for. He had gotten to a point without my help. And a lot of times when you grab a kid, you don't need to change a whole lot. Mm-hmm. You just need to tweak here and there. But I've been so fortunate to, and Chief, our relationship goes beyond sports.
Oh, much more.
Sports. And I cannot be more elated to be on with you guys this morning.
Yeah, well, I tell you, Greg, like I said, you've been an inspiration, not just from football. Going to what you're doing with HBCUs and with the Black All-Star game, because you and Doug are really. That's something that's one of y'all babies. So,
well, yeah, the Black College Football Hall of Fame is in existence for such a time like this, with the division and everything that's going on in our country. What Doug and Shaq wanted to do was honor men who had gone to HBCUs and who had the body of work to qualify for the College Hall of Fame, but very few were, got that call. And he, Doug Williams and Shaq Harris, both the Grambling graduates, created and said, let's find an organization. Let's find a way that we can honor those men, because most of the men there are a number of men who are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but not in the College Football Hall of Fame,
Right.
are members of the Black College Football Hall of Fame. So it's been a great, when I got that call, it meant more than anything else. I mean, I'm 7 different Hall of Fames, from FAMU to State of Florida Track and Field Hall of Fame, Sports Hall of Fame, all of that stuff. But this one means significantly more because it's a group of men that we all have similar stories. It was things that we had to overcome, the resilience that we had to show in spite of. So I'm so elated, and the Black College Football Hall of Fame Legacy Bowl comes to New Orleans every February.
Every year.
It's an opportunity for the NFL has partnered with us to see that there's talent, to give these guys a showcase on national television to show their wares, and a number of them have taken advantage of it and now playing in the National Football League.
And a lot of the money that you guys raise to that, what do you guys do with the money? Where is it focused at?
Well, here's the biggest piece. We talk about the game, but we also, on top of that All-Star game, we've created a college career fair, and we bring kids in from that 5-state area. We bust them in, we put them up in a hotel, and we have over 100 different top 50 corporations that come in and set up booths. These kids come in and they interview. One particular organization came in and left with 118. They passed out 118 different contracts. This is just one company.
Wow.
So kids come in, our players go through the career fair because not all of them are going to make the NFL, but they've got great interviews. They're setting themselves up for the future. And listen, the community, you talk about the funding, that's where the funding goes, to bring those kids in, to make sure that they're set up for interviews for life, because we're changing generations. Chief, I get so excited when we talk about, because people just look at football. They look at the front part, but they don't look at the back end and the tail end, that if a kid gets a career, he changes generations for life.
Well, I remember,
and that's what I'm so happy
I
about.
remember when I first met you, when I was chief, and I discussed with you, the successes that I had under the Mark Morrell administration when we attacked crime from a social standpoint as opposed to a crime standpoint, and numbers reflected that. We had a 26% reduction in overall crime and a 73% reduction in murders, and that ideology should have been basically replicated throughout the country. And when you came up with the idea with the HBCU, the Hall of Fame and the game and everything, and then you reached out to young people, that's a shining example of what I'm talking about. Everybody can't make it to the league. Everybody can't make it to the NFL. A lot of kids can't even make it to college. But every kid can be touched by someone like you who has the wherewithal and who has been in NFL and have utilized that platform to advance the advancement of our people, especially young African American men.
Chief, we talk about football, we talk about sports, but my education that I got at Florida A&M prepared me for life.
Right.
I was a criminology major, sociology major at FAM, double major. I've had my stint. I spent 2 years as a criminal investigator for the state attorney's office down in Jacksonville, Florida, which is my hometown. I figured out early on that I was not cut out for law enforcement. But my post-NFL career, along with broadcasting, was I was with one of the top communications companies in the world, and that brought us together. And you talk about the policing. Yeah, I spent years talking about 21st century policing with an organization called Noble. Had the opportunity to speak at the White House on what that meant from a civilian's perspective, and it was that industry that brought us together.
That's what I
And during
mentioned
the
at the
tough
Noble
times of-
Convention.
Absolutely, the tough times that the folks in Louisiana had, New Orleans. We spent so much time, and Chief, you may or may not even remember this, because we develop relationships. People are people, regardless of what title they carry. And during that time, during that difficult time in New Orleans, we pulled a couple of law enforcement folks and a couple of fire chiefs. I got them out of New Orleans. I said, hell, you guys haven't had a decent night's sleep. You haven't had a bed to sleep in. We took them to Minnesota, flew them to Minnesota.
That's right. I
We
remember
just happened to be the Saints, playing the Saints that Sunday, and went to some corporate people, the hotel at the Mall of America. I said, this is what we need to do. We made them honorary captains.
I remember that.
Just giving them a brief respite
That's right.
of what they were going through. Now, here's my point for law enforcement. These three things. When people call 911, they're looking for help, they're looking for hope, and they're looking for humanity. You know, I was just recently did a 9/11 first responders tribute, and the question was asked, Rick, how do you see this whole picture? And I gave them the three H's. When people call that 911, they need help, they need hope, and they need to be treated with humanity. And I saw that in you, and I still see it in you because you're giving back. So, you know, the bridges have crossed. Yeah, we're getting a little bit long in the tooth, but the journey that God has allowed us to be a part of, it's not for us. It's for others. The legacy that you will leave in New Orleans, and some people will paint the picture whichever way that they want to. You can't do anything about that. But we know the truth, and the word says the truth will set you free.
Well, you two talking some great stuff, but for our listeners who have no clue what Noble is,
oh yeah, you're right.
I'll tell you, it's the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. They got probably about 5,000 members. I've had friends in the organization since its early days in the 1970s, especially out of Philadelphia, when I was working at the Philadelphia Inquirer and got to know the Noble folks in Philadelphia. And some of them went on to national leadership positions. Very important organization for black folks and supporters of black folks in law enforcement. So just wanted to give folks a little idea of what y'all talking about Noble.
You know what?
Y'all Noble men.
When I give it Greg, I'm forgetting I'm on the radio show. We talking, like we're on the phone. But you know, my mentor came from Noble, Terry Hillard, the chief of Chicago.
Absolutely.
He was the greatest law enforcement man I've ever been around my entire life. And it was coincidental. He was the oldest major city chief in the nation, and I was the youngest. And my first major city chiefs convention conference I went to, they had us in alphabetical order. Well, he had moved my nameplate and put it next to his, and I looked at everything. I was out, and so I didn't say nothing for the whole session. And so he said, "Congratulations, you passed your first test." I said, "What you talking about, Chief?" He said, "Everybody told me you were the youngest major city chief in the nation. I wanted to see if you thought you was a know-it-all." He said, "By you just being quiet, you know when to be quiet." He said, "I'm going to take you under my wing and I'm going to show you how to be a chief." And I never forgot that. And to this day, Terry Hillard is still my mentor.
Right.
Yes, sir. He's a special man, and Chief Ramsey. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
I mean, greatest chiefs in the world.
Absolutely. That Mount Rushmore of chiefs that we've had over the years. Yeah.
So, Greg, this is Will Sutton. I wanted to ask a couple of questions for you, but the first and foremost is what, as we think about the young folks who are coming along, generally speaking, people think about their sons playing football, and they quite often think about being the quarterback or a wide receiver, maybe a tight end or a linebacker.
Some think about being on the line, but very few think about being a punter.
Right.
And there are a number of folks who have achieved that goal in the NFL, and they've had various lengths of tenure in the NFL. But can you mention some of those folks like Horace Gilliam and Presley Harvin and Corliss Wallman and folks like that to kind of give people an idea that it is possible at the NFL level to be black and be a punter?
Absolutely. And let me say this. Let me pay homage to those men who came before me who punted a football in the National Football League, but they were double dipping as other players.
Right.
Because of their athletic ability. You mentioned Horace, the late, great Marlon Briscoe. There were a number of men who punted, but they were also doubled up playing other positions. When I say, I did not want to do anything else, and I'll be quick with this story. Watching a game between the Baltimore Colts and somebody in Old Memorial Stadium, it was cold, muddy, dirty, and I saw this guy walk out on the field, kick the ball in his clean white uniform, and go back and sit down. And at a very young age, I said, that's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to be. Because I was not very big, not very fast, but I saw that it was a very special position. And guys in the hood, everybody wanted to be quarterback. Everybody wanted to be receivers. Well,
running
I didn't
back.
want nobody
Running back.
Running back. I didn't want nobody hitting on me, so I punted and kicked for both teams. And it dawned on me, and I looked and said, wait a minute, this is a very unique, very special position. So I nurtured that. I had a coach at FAMU, Pop Kittles, and I'm in practice one day, and I'm hitting the ball down the middle of the field, 50, 60, 70 yards. And Pop Kittles said, well, baby, why are you kicking it right to him? I said, well, Pop, that's where he's standing. And Pop, being this reservoir of wisdom, he said, well, hell, baby, why don't you make him work a little bit? Don't you do all the work? He said, why don't you kick it to the right, kick it to the left, and make him run for it, make him earn his supper? And he said, baby, I guarantee you, if you do it on a consistent basis, they'll find a place for you at the next level. And I was stupid enough to believe him. And when I made it to the league and when I hear Howard Cosell saying, Coffin Corner Coleman, Greg Coleman from Florida A&M University hitting the corner again, I knew that I had made it.
You were the first directional punter in the NFL.
It's a lost art. You talk about Presley Harvin and Marquette King from an HBCU school, one of the top punters who still should be punting in the National Football League. If people don't believe that players can get blackballed, Marquette King got blackballed from the National Football League. He's punting in the XFL, leading that league, but nobody wants to give him a shot because he's flamboyant, has personality, and all of those things. He's not going to kiss anybody's rear end. So there's some disappointing parts of the league, but 9 times out of 10, when a kid is prepared, and Chief, you know this, when preparation meets opportunity, 9 times out of 10, it's going to equal success. And there are a lot of kids at HBCUs now, but if you look at the landscape, it's changed because most of our HBCU punters and kickers are now non-African American. We created this award to give away at the Legacy Bowl every year called the Golden Touch Award. That's to the top African American punter and kicker. And I got to tell you, it's been difficult because the other kids see a golden opportunity and they have used it to their advantage. So I encourage young kids, don't discount being a punter or kicker or even a long snapper.
Right.
If you can throw a football, because now the long snapper is protected and they can have a 10, 15, 20-year career by bending their head over between their legs and snapping a football 7 and 15 yards. A great way to have a long career.
That's for sure.
So what's your advice to folks who are coming along now? Because the game of football has changed through the decades. but they're still punting. And I was listening to a story just last week about small rural communities where they can't field 11 boys on the field in high school because they don't have enough students overall and not enough students for football. So they're playing six-man football, but they still punt and kick as a part of
There
that
will
game.
there will always be punters and kickers. So whether it's 11-man, 7-man, 6-man, I would say number one, you got to have the passion for it, and it's a mindset. It's more mental than physical, although you have to have the physical attributes to be a punter and kicker. But also, you got to stick with it. You can't let the memes on social media and all of those things. Oh man, you just a kicker.
Right.
Well, I tell you what, he's the most important person on that team, especially on fourth downs.
That's right.
Because the punter is the only one that can flip the field and put your team in with it, give your team an advantage or disadvantage. And since we're talking about punting, I'm talking about something afterlife. I use a metaphor, the punt metaphor, sometimes in sharing messages with young kids and corporations and whomever. At some point in life, you're going to come up on a fourth down. Fourth down means it's not an act of surrender. And I use it to, you pump the brakes and you give yourself a chance to catch your breath and make the next strategic move by doing what? Punt. P, you push through obstacles. You understand your strengths. N, you navigate through the crap of life. And then T, once you have created those great habits and rituals, now you can take calculated risks. That's what teams do every Sunday, every Saturday, and every Friday night when they punt. They're not giving up. It is not an act of surrender. So I use that because in life, everybody's going to come up against a fourth down.
Well,
but
Greg,
if
this is a great segue for this question. I really don't want to ask you, but I got to. What do you think about our New Orleans Saints? Week 0-3. How does it look for us, in your opinion, as an analyst?
They got a long way to go, but things can change. You're going to get some draft choices at next year's draft, some top draft choices. But again, you got to be able to have an organization and coaches and players where everybody's on the same page. And if when there is a disconnect, it shows on the field. So everybody's got to be on one accord. And let's face it, talent wins championships. And if you don't have an abundance of talent, everybody pulling the rope in the same direction, rowing their boat with every oar in the water, you're going to have those types of years. And I'll give you a case in point. You look at the Indianapolis Colts for years. They were at the bottom of the pool. Right now, they're 3-0 because they came together. Changes are going to be made. And my coach, Bud Grant, told me, he said, Greg, I can get anybody to put on a uniform and play.
Right.
He said, but if you don't win, changes are going to be made. And if the Saints continue to, that's why there's been so much turnover over the years. But that organization is going to pull its bootstraps up. Those guys that play for New Orleans, they not only play for the team, man, they play for the city. This I know. I'm not. You get that group, and they'll turn it around. But right now they're struggling, but they'll find a way to win, and they'll find a way to make the people of New Orleans proud.
Well, with the quarterback position being the most important position, our quarterback, I think, is 0-9 in the last 9 starts. Do you think we're going to be making a quarterback change, or you think they're going to stick with him?
Well, you've invested in him, and when I'll give you an example. When Caleb Williams, the number 1 draft choice by the Bears, over the last year or so, they thought that they had a bust, but then they surrounded him with great talent, a great offensive line, and a great game plan. You figure out what he does well, and then that's what you do. You don't force a quarterback to change to what you want him to be. You find out what he does well, and damn, you work with it. Don't give up on him because he was drafted there for a reason. Somebody saw all the scouts did. Let me put it this way. Let me break it down. Let me bring it back to the hood. Mama say everybody can't be telling the same lie. So somebody saw some good in this kid. They just got to find a way to bring it out.
But when you look at a quarterback, he is the most important person on the team, no matter what team you're on. And there's only 32 people that hold that position. That's one of the most coveted positions in all sports. So when you get someone that's not successful on a consistent basis, I mean, they always say quarterbacks get a lot of credit, but they also get a lot of the blame. So in the perspective that we have our quarterback, do you think it's the offensive line? You think it's the receivers? You think it's the game plan? I mean,
It's all of that, Chief.
It's all
of that. You hit the nail on the head. When a team is not successful, it is not just one thing that's going wrong. You mentioned it, the offensive line. It's the game plan. It's the receivers. It's the running backs. It's all of those things that have to work in unison. And if they're not, yes, you mentioned that the quarterback gets the majority of the blame. And it's not all on the QB. When a receiver's supposed to run a route at 17 yards and he cuts it off to 15, now you're short of the first down marker. They put it on the quarterback. If he runs the wrong route, if the running back doesn't pick up a blitz, if the O-line doesn't slide, to the right for the right protection, things go pear-shaped. And it's unfortunate that the QB has to take the blame, but that's the nature of the beast. It is a quarterback-driven league, and you got to stay the course. You got to stay the course. If not, changes will be made, as I mentioned earlier.
I got one of the greatest evolutions probably in the NFL to me from a personal standpoint, and I'm sure you may agree with this, may not, but the evolution of the African-American head coach. I mean, when you were playing, did they have any African-American head coaches?
Surely you jest.
No, but I mean, I'm saying you were playing, but I knew you played a long time, but when did you retire?
No, 88 was my last year.
Oh, 88. Okay.
Yeah, the Minnesota Vikings didn't get an African-American coach until the early 80s. Jerry Brown became a running back coach for the Vikings. Prior to that, no. In terms of, when you talk about the black head coach, there have been a number of success stories. None greater than Tony Dungy, who was with the Minnesota Vikings for a number of years, a man that I call friend. Grew up, played in an all-star game against each other. We competed against each other. One of my contemporaries, you look at Art Shell being the first African-American coach, one of the first African-American coaches.
And what year was that? Do you remember?
Chief, don't make me lie.
Okay.
It was. Let's put it this way. It took too long for that to take place. But if you know anything about Al Davis,
oh yeah,
Al went against the grain a number of years.
I got it.
But
it's 1989.
1980. Look at Will. Will on.
There you go. Yes, indeed. And I know that there's been a number of programs, the Rooney Rule, and all of those things, which teams have found a way to work around because they have found a way to say, hey, well, this guy was on our tree, this guy was on our radar from number one. Well, okay, well, why are you bringing all these other coaches in just to showcase? Here's my whole take on the coaching carousel. I don't think any head coach should be hired until after the Super Bowl. I don't think they should be interviewed because it takes away from the focus of that team and that job. I've seen it firsthand. I was a part of it as a player, as an analyst, as an observer. that offensive coordinator, or defensive coordinator, is trying to make sure that he does the best thing that he can do in terms of getting ready for his interview, and his focus is long gone away from that football team. And that's a travesty. I think they should wait till after the Super Bowl, and when they go to the owners meeting, you bring all those coaches down, you put them in a room with the owners and the well-wishers and all of that stuff. And now everybody's got a fair chance, because it's not fair right now.
No, you're right. But I tell you, they've done a great deal of recruiting and mentoring, because I have a kid that I coached, Andrew Carter, at St. Augustine High School, and now he's coaching with the Green Bay Packers. And I mean, I'm so proud of him. So this kid is like 30 years old. I mean, in the past, there's nowhere in the world a 30-year-old kid that didn't play in the NFL would have had the opportunity to coach in the NFL. So I think they're making some great strides. And they
are, Coach. I mean, Chief, and with the fellowship program, for a lot of these my contemporaries, there are you talk about HBCUs, and one of the reasons that when I left the broadcast booth for the Vikings, I took a year off to do some traveling and write a book and spend some time with my kids, grandkids, and my wife. But then I picked up the mic again a couple of years ago and supporting HBCU schools. I'm doing about 5 games this season with HBCU Go that predominantly portrays and picks up HBCU games. But a lot of my contemporaries, a lot of guys that played in the league, are now coming back and being head coaches at HBCUs. You talk about the Michael Vicks, the kid from Philly, Tony Carter,
Deion Sanders.
Who played, yes, Deion Sanders. And I got to give Prime his due. He opened the door to make it be okay for coaches to come back and coach these kids at African-American schools. They don't have all of the resources of others. But, man, let me tell you something. They are building men of the future.
Well, Greg, I appreciate it,
some of them will be football players, but they all be great citizens, man. I'm just so happy to
well,
be
Greg, we coming up on a break there. That's one thing I got to do in my new capacity. I got to learn how to deal with that time.
You got to pay the bills.
Because the big man bills, pointing at me right now. We got to pay the bills, son. We want to get paid. So, my brother, thank you so much. You've been a blessing in my life, and you continue to be a blessing.
All right,
thank you so much. Will, pleasure meeting you, sir.
Good meeting you,
we'll
too.
talk again.
All right. Maybe I'll see you at Legacy Bowl, if not before. So
I'm going to hold you to it.
All right. I'm going to bring it with me, Greg. I'm going to bring it with me.
All right. Thank you, Chief.
Folks, it's 8:42. If you got somewhere to be for 9 o'clock, you just might make it. You're listening to WBOK 1230 AM. But when we come back, I'm going to give you some vital pieces of information. I'm going to give you the Senate resolution that is in honor of Charlie Kirk that passed unanimously, and the one from the U.S. House, which was divided. A lot of Republicans are pointing to the 58 Democrats who voted against it. Well, let me give you a different number and get your take on why House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, our top-ranking black guy in the Congress, voted in favor of the Charlie Kirk resolution. Stay tuned right here, WBOK 1230 AM. What New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Hey everybody, it's Graylin Bryant Banks.
And Kimber White Dupree.
From the front porch, y'all. You know how we do. Every Monday is Moving Monday.
And Tuesday is Trivia Tuesday.
And y'all know we have nothing but bad cheering coming through here on Wednesday.
But stick with us. On Thursday, we travel.
That's right. And Friday's Free Your Mind Friday, so get your brass up.
Something on your mind? Want to get it off your chest?
Holla at your people. WBOK 1230 AM, the station you listen to.
All day long.
Good morning and happy Monday. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News, and here's a look at today's headlines. Happening today, former New Orleans 911 Director Tyrell Morris is expected to stand trial. Morris faces multiple charges, including false impersonation of a peace officer, malfeasance in office, insurance fraud, and injuring public records. The trial was delayed last month after prosecutors made a last-minute move to introduce new evidence. Morris has pleaded not guilty and is expected to be in court at 9 a.m. Neighbors in the lower Ninth Ward plan to protest a controversial grain terminal later today. Residents who live near the facility worry it will threaten their quality of life. We're told they plan to confront representatives from Port Nola and Sunrise Food during a community meeting and then stage a peaceful protest outside. That meeting takes place from 5 to 7 tonight at the Sanchez Multi-Service Center. And with the October 11th election rapidly approaching, we're hosting the WDSU mayoral debate tonight to help you get informed before casting your ballot. That 30-minute live debate airs tonight, commercial-free at 6:30 p.m., and the top 3 candidates for mayor, Royce Duplessis, Helena Moreno, and Oliver Thomas, are all participating. We will have a full recap during our news at 10 o'clock. And that is a look at today's headlines. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News. Have a great day.
Tired of the impersonal, one-size-fit-all style of banking? You deserve a bank that delivers exceptional service and personalized attention to your needs. That's the Home Bank Standard. Since 1908, Home Bank has been a trusted financial partner for businesses and families because we go the extra mile to help you reach your goals. See for yourself why Home Bank is good for business, good for life. Stop by any New Orleans area location or find out more at home24bank.com. Home Bank, member FDIC.
What's the future for New Orleans? Will city services ever function efficiently? Our people need answers, not slogans. That's why the Nonpartisan City Services Coalition has asked the candidates for mayor how they plan to fix city government. Want to know what they said? Go to cityservicescoalition.com to see for yourself. It's time for action, not excuses. The next step is yours.
Paid for by the City Services Coalition.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Another hot start to the week, but we are looking at the possibility of some scattered showers for today. We'll call them hit or miss, so not everybody will see them. Highs today will still be into the low 90s, feeling like the mid-90s. Another chance for some spotty showers as we get to Tuesday. Better chances for rain on Wednesday and Thursday, then lower humidity by the end of the week. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Good morning, New Orleans, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show. This is WBOK 1230 a.m., and I'm here with Chief Eddie Compass, and we had such a rich Charlie Kirk conversation. I need to give you all some more information so that you have a bit more context of what just happened at the end of the week in advance of the big hundreds of thousands of people showing up for the Charlie Kirk Memorial out west. But there were votes in the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate. And in both of those cases, they voted unanimously for a National Day of Remembrance in honor of Charlie Kirk, which will be October 10th. So that was a recognition of him, and that will be on October 10th in New Orleans and Louisiana. That's the day before Election Day, October 11th. But there were other resolutions as well, and in the one resolution, the words I think are fairly reasonable, but I want to see what you think. And hold on, because I'm going to read each of these and then ask you the question: why would our guy vote in favor of this. So this is the resolution that was in the Senate, condemning the assassination of Charlie Kirk and honoring his life and legacy. Whereas Charlie Kirk was horrifically assassinated on September 10, 2025, at Utah Valley University while speaking to a large group of college students. Whereas Charlie Kirk was a devoted husband, father, and Christian. Whereas in 2012, Charlie Kirk, wait a minute, hold on a second, founded Turning Point USA. Whereas Charlie Kirk was founded Turning Point USA, a conservative campus advocacy group that quickly became one of the fastest growing groups. And be it resolved that the Senate condemns the assassination of Charlie Kirk in the strongest possible terms, extends the deepest condolences and sympathies to Charlie Kirk's family, including his wife, Erica, and their 2 young children, and honors Charlie Kirk. This is the one that was passed by the Senate. Now, I want you to hear this one, which is the one that was considered by the House, the U.S. House of Representatives. So let me go back and let me get back to the end of it. I see I skipped it. So this is the end of the Senate resolution. Extends its deepest sympathies, deepest condolences and sympathies to Charlie Kirk's family, including his wife Erica and their 2 young children, and honors Charlie Kirk's commitment to the constitutional principles of civil discussion and debate between all people of the United States, regardless of political affiliation. That was in the U.S. Senate. Meanwhile, over in the House last week, that resolution says, whereas Charlie James Kirk, born October 14, 1993, was a courageous American patriot whose life was tragically and unjustly cut short in an act of political violence on September 10, 2025 at Utah Valley University. Whereas Charlie Kirk was a devoted Christian who boldly lived out his faith with conviction, courage, and compassion. Whereas Charlie Kirk was a dedicated husband to his beloved wife, Erica Kirk, and a loving father to their children. Whereas Charlie Kirk was a fierce defender of the American founding and its timeless principles of life, liberty, limited government, and individual responsibility. Whereas Charlie Kirk, at 18 years old, founded Turning Point USA in 2012, a student movement with the mission to identify, educate, train, and organize students to promote the principles of fiscal responsibility, free markets, and limited government. Whereas Charlie Kirk became one of the most prominent voices in America engaging in respectful civil discourse across college campuses, media platforms, and national forums, always seeking to elevate truth, foster understanding, and strengthen the republic. I hope you're listening.
Wow.
Oh, boy. Whereas Charlie Kirk personified the values of the First Amendment, exercising his God-given right to speak freely, challenged prevailing narratives, and did so with honor, courage, and respect for his fellow Americans. Whereas Charlie Kirk's commitment to civil discussion and debate stood as a model for young people across the political spectrum. I'm sorry, I got to pause. Across the political spectrum. And he worked tirelessly to promote unity without compromising on conviction. Whereas the assassination of Charlie Kirk was not only a heinous act of violence, but a sobering reminder of the growing threat posed by political extremism and hatred in our society. Hope you heard that part. Oh boy. Whereas such acts of politically motivated violence are antithetical to the principles of a free republic in which differences of opinion are to be debated, not silenced, with civility, reason, and mutual respect. Whereas the rise in targeted violence against individuals for their political beliefs undermines the very fabric of our constitutional democracy and chills the free exchange of ideas essential to a healthy civic society. Whereas leaders at every level, government, education, media, and beyond, must stand united in unequivocal condemnation of political violence regardless of their ideology. Whereas the tragic loss of Charlie Kirk must not be allowed to deepen the divides in our nation. But instead serve as a turning point to recommit ourselves to better angels and to the timeless American principles of liberty governed by truth and the virtues of peaceful dialogue. And whereas Charlie Kirk would not have us respond to his death with despair, but rather with renewed purpose to speak truth with courage, to stand firm in faith, to seek unity while standing firm in principle, and to serve as living reminders of the values he championed, faith, family, and freedom. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the House of Representatives condemns in the strongest possible terms the assassination of Charlie James Kirk and all forms of political violence, commends and honors the dedicated law enforcement and emergency personnel for their tireless efforts in finding the suspect responsible for the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and urges the administration of swift justice to the suspect, extends its deepest condolences and sympathies to Charlie Kirk's family, including his wife Erica and their 2 young children, and prays for the comfort, peace, and healing in his time of unspeakable loss. Honors the life, leadership, and legacy of Charlie Kirk, whose steadfast dedication to the Constitution, civil discourse, and biblical truth inspired a generation to cherish and defend the blessings of liberty, and calls upon all Americans, regardless of race, party affiliation, or creed, to reject political violence, recommit to respectful debate, uphold American values, and respect one another as fellow Americans. Drastically different resolutions from the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House. And the U.S. House, the vote was overall 310 to 58. 310 to 58. On the news cycles the last few days, the Republicans has been saying there are 58 Democrats who voted against the Charlie Kirk resolution. Well, I just read the 2 Charlie Kirk resolutions. I think you might understand why. Well, let me give you a different number. 95 Democrats voted yes. 95, including House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. We're not going to have time to run his answer, but I think we'll be able to do that tomorrow. But I ask you to consider why any black person or woman or transgender person in the U.S. House of Representatives would vote in favor of such a resolution with the words that I read to you this morning. I don't have to endorse what Charlie Kirk stood for, and I think I could vote for the U.S. Senate resolution because of the wording of it. But this one in the U.S. House, that is a whole different story, and I don't see how anybody could vote for that. Let me say, as Louisiana goes, our 2 black congressional representatives, Cleo Fields and Troy Carter, yes, they were part of the 58 who voted no. There were others who voted present, including Nancy Pelosi, who voted present, not yes and not no. But the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, voted yes. the bulk of the Congressional Black Caucus voted no as a part of the 58 who voted no. But one of the top-ranking people in the 95 was Hakeem Jeffries. He's got a balance of power to pursue. I understand that. I want y'all to think about that overnight. And let's pick up on this discussion. How could we vote in favor of something that, with the words that I just read? I don't get it. Chief, we're going to have to end the show, but go ahead.
Well, all I can say is some of those accolades, I don't know what they were predicated on. It seems like innuendo, supposition, conjecture. No tangible gauges to show that he brought people together. So we'll talk about it tomorrow. So that's some homework for you guys tomorrow.
All right. And I do want you to know that we did a decent job with registration. I've got some numbers for you, and we're going to have to end the show and head on to the front porch. But let me just say that good job on those who were able to give time to get signed up and registered to vote. We have more than 2,000 people registered to vote by September 20th. That number is 262,000. But let me tell you about the number of votes who are registered in September who identify as black, 141,828. But here's the thing. This is a majority black city. Guess how many white folks registered?
How many?
95,403.
Wow, from percentage standpoint.
Percentage?
That
doesn't look good.
That doesn't look good.
All right. More on that later. We're going to hand it over to Kimba and Graylin, and you'll enjoy the front porch right here on WBOK, 1230 a.m., what New Orleans is talking about.
All day.